Hey there, welcome to the DFS Build NBA edition. We are doing this one live, partially just to react while people are watching, and then also to catch news as we go and to update it in real time. You can also watch this video when it's not live, so there's that too. If we help you out in any way, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and come join us in Discord. If you want core plays to build around, head over to dfsbuild.com. Just $5.99 a month to get access to our NBA plays every single day, plus all of the other content we push out. Taylor's been doing NHL DFS stacks and strategy posts, and we'll have something up for the Super Bowl as well. So definitely take advantage of that, all for just $5.99. All right, man, the way we go through it, we go team by team, highlighting the best plays of the slate and just talk about each situation. First up, Nets in Orlando, 10-point spread here with a Magic favorite at home. Gross total here, it's really bad, 214.5. Nothing to like here really as far as stacking goes, but MPJ, based off of his usage and ceiling, and no Cam Thomas here, is a little bit interesting. Like if the game stays close, MPJ could nuke. There's that. I don't really like anything else besides him though.
Sorry. Yeah. Porter's good. Like I was really into him the other night, and then the Nets got absolutely murdered by the Lakers.
As they are one to do.
Will happen.
Yeah.
The spread here is like 9.5. So that's not terrible, but the Nets have been so bad lately that it's really hard to have a lot of faith in them to not get destroyed any night. I do think Porter at 8.6 is a good play. Obviously the blowout is the fear, but good price tag on him. Cam Thomas, I believe, is out, so that generally helps MPJ. Dioman, pretty thin, 4,500. The slate should have value at guard. We'll get to Chicago. So I think it's okay. Like in a large field tournament, Dioman has a ceiling. Generally, he's much better without Porter. I don't think the Thomas news helps him too much, but he is cheap. Traore is cheap and has been starting if you want to do that. These are just like large field YOLO kind of plays. Nobody that I really want to build around.
No. MPJ is a fine pivot in like single entries or something. Not a priority for me at all, but he's pretty much the only thing I'm looking at here. For the Magic side, you can always play Banchero in tournaments. Desmond Bane, 6.8, getting a little bit cheap. Anthony Black, with everybody there except for Wagner, it's kind of tough with him over 7K. Suggs at 6K, I think is okay. I think we could do that if we want to. Not the best matchup, as we've talked about many times. Wendell Carter Jr., unfortunately, is the one who has the best matchup at 4.9K. So I suppose we can do that. But I feel like the whole centers against Nets thing has been a little bit inconsistent lately. So like it hasn't really been hitting all the time. But you know, sub 5K, he's going to play about 30 minutes. It is a positive matchup. I think he's an okay value. I'm not super psyched to like invest heavily, like on a premium level with somebody like Banchero in a game with a 10-point spread and such a low total though.
Yeah, I think Banchero and Bane and Black are all really good tournament pay up to be different types. It looks like Suggs is going to be the chalk here, and I get it. He's 6K, so he's cheaper than usual. Brooklyn, like we've said, like you alluded to, is not a great matchup for lead guards with the way their defensive scheme works, but it is an underpay for Suggs. The minutes have been better, so I don't mind that. Just kind of a, you're getting him too cheap, so I'm okay with it. Carter is really cheap. I don't love it with Mo Wagner there. His minutes have been generally much riskier. So I acknowledge that he's a good play at 4.9. I just don't really know, like, when's the time you faded Wendell Carter and really paid for it? There are not many instances of that. So center is center. It's not the best center slate. There is stuff to pay for. Wemby's on the slate. Şengün. We'll get to some other stuff. So it's okay. If Carter's going to be owned, that's something I'm pretty happy to get away from.
Yeah, because I can tell you a number of times where I have played Wendell Carter Jr. and I regretted it. So it usually doesn't go the other way. Will he go out there and maybe get like 30, 35 fantasy points? Yeah, entirely possible. 4.9K, so it makes him a fair value. It just doesn't make him a guy we have to play. I think the Wagner return is a great call out. He's there. Goga's there. So like there's enough bodies there to potentially mess with Wendell Carter Jr. We'll see. I don't even know if he's going to be chalky. We'll see what the ownership is. But basically, it would be, Wendell Carter or Suggs for me. I'm not really interested in the other guys that much. Agree, in tournaments, sure. But Nets really are not that fun of a matchup these days. It's the other way around for the Pistons. They have a very fun matchup hosting the Wizards. This game could be very gross, very fast, 14-point spread. But if it's not over early, Alexander Sarr and Keyshawn George could be really, really good tournament plays. I don't think they're going to be very owned because of the price and the matchup. But obviously, they don't defend. They're going to push the pace. Just naturally, my interest is going to be on the Detroit side. Do you want to play any Wizards here? I'm not really getting there.
I don't really want to. Not a good team. Really bad matchup. They are bigger underdogs than the Nets are, which is saying something because the Nets cannot do anything well, particularly score. So that's not good. A 106 total is higher than the Nets. There are a lot of teams with low totals. Chicago has a low total. Charlotte has a low total.
Yeah.
Like in the 100s. So not playing the Wizards is probably the way to go. I think you can always consider Alex Sarr. I think you can consider Justin Champagnie. Doesn't feel good, especially if Justin Champagnie is going to be somewhat popular. Keyshawn is a bit expensive for a really tough spot against Thompson, presumably Thompson. So, I think you can pretty comfortably fade this team. Maybe Sarr in a large field.
Yeah, I think Sarr and Keyshawn are always viable in big GPPs, but this is just not the spot to mess around with it. And I tend to play single entry in general, so just like I do want to look for a couple ways to get different in my lineup, but I don't want it to be like the worst possible spot. Like that, I don't think that's the way. Oh, nobody will be on him. Well, yeah, but for a very good reason. So I'm not going to do that. I think like Bub at 5'6", Champagnie, like you said, at 5. Koulibaly at 5'2". Like I think these guys are okay values. Like if they're your last guy in, I think it's it's all right. But in general, Wizards are an easy cross off along with the Nets for me. On the other side, like, hey, Cade Cunningham could go off against the Wizards if the game stays close, even in 3/4. Any of these guys could absolutely pop. My favorite is Jalen Duren by a mile. Centers against the Wizards is a real thing. They just it doesn't matter who it is. Whoever the main center is, if he plays like 30 minutes, he's going to absolutely smash. Washington has nothing to say about it. So Duren, obviously, his minutes can be a bit wonky, but I think he's going to go just nuke mode here. There's no reason to think he wouldn't. And he's only 7-7, so it's not egregiously priced. If you want to play Azur Thompson, that's fine, especially with Tobias questionable. Cade's also questionable, so that could open things up if he randomly okay. What? Taylor's voice is soothing. That is true. You could lull me to sleep with that smooth voice. But yeah, all the Pistons look good. Where are you at? Where are you at on Detroit?
Yeah, I think, kind of like we say every night, Cade looks good. Duren looks good. Duren looks much better than Cade.
Yep.
Dollar for dollar, especially if Cade is banged up. I'm not that concerned about Cade if he's in. I'm assuming he's good to go. If he's out, obviously we're looking again at like Dennis Jenkins. I assume he would start at the 1.
Well, yeah, no more Ivy.
Yeah, Ivy's gone. They do have Kevin Huerter now, so that's exciting.
He is expected to make his debut, so there's that.
Yeah, they still have a lot of bodies. Jenkins has generally been pretty good in that role, very productive, starting for Cade. And in the matchup, like, it's kind of hard for him to miss. He is 4K, so really good value if he's the starter. And then that's presumably a usage boost for guys like Tobias. There aren't really a lot of high usage players that will take over for Cade in this offense. They don't really have another wing who's going to like be active on the scoring front that will play a lot of minutes. Like Robinson will play a lot of minutes. Huerter might be thrust into a bigger role right away. I don't really know. Obviously, it's his team debut. Duren's the one that easily looks the best. Cade's fine. Tobias is fine. Thompson's kind of expensive, but turnover-prone matchups are good for him, and the Wizards will turn it over. So don't mind taking shots on that, and we'll see about Cade.
If Cade does happen to be out, Duncan Robinson also is a fair play at 4-4. It just starts with Duren, though, for me. We'll see what happens with Cade. My guess is he plays, and then I'm just going to play Duren and ignore the rest. All right, Utah in Atlanta. Utah continues to be undermanned, I believe. they'll have, 9 guys today? So, if Kevin Love plays. Kevin Love is questionable, so we'll see. If Nurk doesn't start, he might not suit up or might not actually hit the floor. So we could really be looking at an 8-man rotation or technically 7-man rotation once again. So I think we should have interest in Utah. And then on top of that, nice matchup with the Hawks. It's going to be a fast-paced setting with no defense. This game has a crazy high total, like 244.5 or something. So, Lowry is interesting because obviously he has a massive ceiling in a spot like this, but only played 26 minutes when they only played 7 guys last game. So that's disconcerting for sure. I think everything starts with Isaiah Collier with no Keontae George. He's just going to play most of the game. Like, I don't have any worries about him. And then when you start looking at this is going to be a shorthanded team with a tighter rotation, especially if Nurkic does not start, then we can look at Filipowski. We can look at Ace Bailey, Bryce Sensabaugh, even Cody Williams. Like, there's a lot to like here. Oh, well, Taylor got absolutely bounced. All right, well, I mean, you already heard me talk about Utah, so unless he, gets back in here real quick, then he can give his thoughts. But as things stand, let's see here. Okay, yeah. As things stand, I'm a little bit wary about Lowry Markkanen for sure. But I think at 8-3, given the matchup, nice projection. I think he's still very much in play. You just got to hope, if he's in there, maybe they let him play more than 30 minutes. That'd be great. But right now, Collier is the only lock for me. Almost a 40-point projection here. Not even 7K. Keep an eye on Nurk. If Nurk starts, he looks good at 7-4. If Nurk doesn't start, he's just not playable. In the event Nurk does not start, then Kyle Filipowski is going to look really good at 6.4. Look what he did last game, 51 fantasy points in 35 minutes. The reality is, if Nurk doesn't start, we can't trust him. And then all of a sudden, the Jazz guys are just going to be super, super shorthanded. And all these other guys, we can feel pretty good about getting 25-plus minutes. Here, Jalen Johnson scored 92 fantasy points against the Jazz last time. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about with Jalen Johnson. And we'll get to him right now as we kick it over to the Hawks side. Point is, by the way, Utah looks pretty darn good across the board. Just start with Collier and work from there. Jalen Johnson is my favorite spend of the entire slate. 10.5K is just appropriate for who he is. 64-plus fantasy points in the last 2 games. Utah is not a tough matchup whatsoever. I don't think he's going to get 92 fantasy points again, but obviously that's a nice shout, and that is the ceiling he does possess. 56 points for his fantasy projection on the slate here just goes to show he's the top projecting play of the slate. He just looks awesome. So doesn't need more of a sales pitch than that. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, CJ McCollum, Dyson Daniels, Taylor and I were talking about this before we went live here. And it's just kind of weird. I know guards have been wrecking the Jazz and who hasn't been wrecking the Jazz. But the thing is it just feels like we're paying a lot of money and we're playing into ownership for somebody like CJ, who's an old. And who did they lose? They lost Luke Kennard in a trade. Otherwise, they have all their guards. They have all their main guards there. They might give more run to Corey Kispert and Reza Shea. Jalen Johnson's still there. Onyeka might be back. So can we really trust that the usage is going to be there for all these guards? I don't know. So I think CJ at 6-1 against the Jazz is an okay play. He projects well. He's not egregiously priced. The lineup tools are going to like him. They're going to push you his way. I feel a little bit hesitant to buy into that. I'm also hesitant to buy into Dyson Daniels at 7-2. If I did anything here that wasn't Jalen Johnson, it would probably be Onyeka as long as he's not limited, or Nah at 7K. Because Nah is the second best projecting Hawk on the slate, and he just has a more consistently reliable role than CJ does. He's going to get more minutes. He's going to get more usage. He offers a higher ceiling in general. And then somebody like Dyson Daniels is a two-way player, so he's just going to lose usage to those other 2 guards. Moral of the story, a little bit hesitant to buy into the guards, even though it's a great matchup. But Jalen Johnson to the moon. All right, Chicago and the Raptors in Toronto, 8-point spread here. That Chicago has just completely stripped themselves all the way down. Chicago, they don't care. Josh Giddey is still hurt. He's not back yet. They traded Vooch. Who else did they trade? They're trading everybody. They traded Herter. They traded Io. Traded Kobe White. They legitimately traded freaking everybody. So they don't care about winning. Matas Buzelis looks awesome here at 6.7 with almost a 40-point fantasy projection. Jalen Smith at 6.2. These guys are just stepping in. They're going to play a ton of minutes because there's no Vooch. And they're super, super guard heavy right now. Like Ulbrich is like the only other big. So I get Pat Williams, like, is he even really a big? To me, it's a small forward, and it's a power forward and a small forward body, basically. So unless they go small, I think Matas and Jalen kind of just have to play a good amount. It seems like Jalen's gonna be limited though, so Buzelis is the play between the two for sure. The other thing is, how much are they going to play these new guys? Taylor was talking about it in Discord, and he was like, "Oh, Simons could get some monster usage," and he's 100% right. Like he could. I'm a little bit, worried about making your debut. He's Colin Sexton also making his debut. Jaden Ivey also making his debut. So like one of these guys is probably going to nuke, undeniably so, because they're shorthanded and there's just usage to go around. Which guy can we actually trust? Probably none of them, to be honest. Of the three, though, Simons, Sexton, Ivy. I think Simons is the one that I probably trust the most. I want to trust Ivy more. He's only 3.9K. And Sexton's only 4.3. But I do think if I was going to play somebody other than Buzelis, it's going to be Simons. I really wanted. Taylor Smith is in. He's trying to get in here. It says his device is not connected, but he's trying. He's trying. If it lets him back in, I will let him in here. Says he needs to connect his stuff, and then we'll see if he can get back in. All right, I'm going to wait for a second so he can try to add his 2 cents. All right. Did you lose your internet or what?
We sure did.
All right, so I went over the Bulls. I'm obviously very into Buzelis. Leery of the guard stuff. But why don't you give your thoughts on, if you like these guards making their debuts, or who else you like for Chicago?
Yeah, it's obviously a really murky situation. We don't know if Sexton's going to play. Ivy's available. Simons is available. They have Yuki Kawamura. They have Mac McClung. Dunk hero Mac McClung.
So they're not as shorthanded as it looks right here.
No, we don't know if McClung will play. No reason to believe he's going to be like a rotation piece, but could be available. Buzelis is obviously the headliner, just a lot of usage available. I think Simons is a really good tournament play. Just in the 5K range, he's the guy who is happy to take on usage. We know he can pile it up in a hurry. And I don't really see any reason they wouldn't just give him a pretty long leash, because they traded for him. They traded Vucevic for him. So he, I think, should take on a leading role with Giddey out. And he's cheap. Like there's a chance that he's Kobe White-ish, like 7K before long, depending on how he plays and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
With the uncertainty, there's a lot of risk, but there's also a big reward, I think, if Simons is like really unleashed. So I'm pretty happy to do that at 5K. Ivy is 3.9, not as cheap. He's cheap, but like riskier. Kawamura, like if he starts or something, yeah, you can play that. Jalen Smith is another interesting case, just because they don't have any centers. He's really the only one left.
Ulbrich.
Yeah, Lachlan Ulbrich.
Your boy.
Jalen Smith is awesome per minute. It doesn't take him long to get there. He's 6'2", so it's like not cheap. He also was held to 20 minutes the other night. So if he's limited, that's a tough sell. But if we get word that he's like, oh, he can play 28, then I'm kind of all in on that. Sexton's also a possibility. He's 4.3, another good per minute guy. I think if you're not playing Simons, then rolling the dice on Sexton, if available, is okay. Just a really wide range of outcomes. There's a lot of murkiness. Any projections you see are just guesses with the guards. Like Buzelis is the most solidified, we know what we're getting type of player here. And then Smith, if he gets the minutes, and then Patrick Williams, I guess you can try. Like if Jalen Smith is still limited, I would just be really concerned about playing Williams into ownership. But my favorite play here is Simons. I just think there's a huge payoff potential, and he's 5K.
Yeah, I agree. I think you can make a case for any of those guards just because they don't have any other guards. Like they're all new players except for Kawamura, but like somebody has to run the point, somebody has to play the two. And then like you were talking about the big man situation, like Buzelis might just play the whole game anyways, because like Jalen Smith probably can't. So then it's Buzelis and Ulbrich, and like that's it. Pat Williams isn't really a 4, much less a 5. So I think we do want a bowl or two probably, but it's not a good spot. It's a much better spot for the Raptors. On the other side, Scotty Barnes grades out like a god. Brandon Ingram also looks pretty good. Quickly looks pretty good as well because no RJ Barrett. He's been ruled out. So honestly, this is a rare case for the Raptors where you can play 2 of them. They look really good. It's going to be hard to not play at least one of them. Scotty remains my favorite in GPPs. He just has an immense ceiling, and you take one of those dudes out of there with some of that usage, and he is bound to explode. Plus, the Bulls just don't have anything inside that's scary. Like, he can come in and penetrate at will. He's going to clean up the glass, which, by the way, might be a problem if, like, Toronto goes small for the Bulls. I guess Buzelis would just play the 5 at that point if they wanted to mirror that. Anyways, point is, Barnes looks great. If you want to play Ingram or Quickly, don't have a problem with that at all. Quickly is going to really pop in lineup tools. And then, Colin Murray, Boyles, and Mamu, like, they're okay. But I don't think I'm going to get there.
It's a good spot for those guys.
Yeah.
Jalen Smith, not the biggest center. Lachlan Ulbrich, not.
It's a great spot for them, really. It's just like they can't all eat, like
but I think you can
do well.
Roll the dice and hope for upside from either of those bigs. Murray Boyles is more of a wing, kind of masquerading as a center, but like you said, you don't really need size in this matchup anymore without Vooch.
By the way, if Murray Boyle starts as he's been starting, Mamu off the bench is very inviting. Actually,
we've seen him get 50 off the bench in this exact role, and they're playing Chicago. So I think I prefer Mamu overall, just for 200 less. But Murray Boyles does have power forward, which is nice. Not really much more to add about the other 3. I do think a max 2 is the way to go. Between Quickly, Barnes, Ingram, I would rank them that way. Quickly, Barnes, Ingram.
Yeah, that's fair.
Jacoby Walter is bad, but he's also mega cheap. And
good opening.
Should play 20-something off the bench. I just don't really think we need that kind of deep punt.
Great sales pitch. Not playing Jacoby Walter. Hey, by the way, before we move on to the next game, you got bounced for the Hawks Utah game. Is there anything you want to point out for that game for everybody?
Not much. I mean, obviously it's a great game for Atlanta. Anytime you have Utah, it's worth paying attention to. I do think Dyson and CJ and Nah are going to be overowned overall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I said.
Awesome spot, obviously, but they're really getting pushed in publicly available projections. So I feel like they're going to be pretty chalky. I would consider max wanting that. Like, 2 of them can get there, but with Jalen there, it's like kind of a narrow path. And I think a lot of people are going to jam 2 of them at least into lineup. I don't think people will be playing 3 of the guards together. And I wouldn't do that either, obviously. No. But I think a max 1, while kind of aggressive for how well they project, is something I would strongly consider. Johnson's great. Not really much more to add. Possibly the top overall play on the slate.
Well, I agree with what you're saying, especially if you're already playing Jalen. Like, you don't need to be that aggressive and stack up 3 Hawks.
No. Well, not 3 of the main usage guys, for sure. I think you can play 3 if it's like Johnson, a Kongwu, and a guard. Or like Johnson, Kispert, and a guard. Something like that. I do think Kispert's cheap enough to play with Kennard no longer there. Really good spot. Obviously, 3-9 minutes have been pretty strong for him. They've had some injuries to kind of boost him in those games, but cheap enough to be viable.
Yeah, certainly the matchup to take a shot on old Kispert if you want to, if ever there was one. Charlotte, Godspeed, sirs. They are in Houston.
I didn't do Utah either, but like Isaiah Collier, they still don't have another point guard.
Yeah, that's what I said. You got to start with Collier. He's a lock. And then, after that, it gets a little bit murky. But at the same time, wouldn't you agree that if Nurkic doesn't start, we can feel pretty good about a lot of these guys getting good run?
Yeah, it looks like they have 9 available with Nurkic. Yeah, Nurkic obviously is a starter only play.
If he doesn't start, then they only have 8, like for
And
sure.
Svi played off the bench last time. Usually when Svi doesn't start, they don't play him at all, but they were so thin that they had to.
And he
we're
only
probably
played
going to
20
see,
though.
and he did pretty well. I still think he did. That was a weird sentence. But
the point is, he only played. You hit 7 for 9. He only played 20 minutes though, so you just got to think, if they don't have to, they're not going to overextend Lowry. They're not going to play Nurk, and they're going to play Svi as little as possible.
Yeah, they'll still have to play him some just because they need guards. Like he and Collier are the only ones. I guess you could say Cody Williams is kind of a guard, but I think he's more of a forward. Just with same with Sensabaugh and Bailey. They're pretty stocked on like small forward types, but the guard thing is a problem. I think Cody Williams was a great play the other night. He's more expensive now, and I think he had small forward the other night. Now he doesn't, which is kind of dumb. But
40 minutes though.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like,
if he starts, I like him still.
Guys are going to get really steamed up. We'll see about Kevin Love and Nurk. Obviously, Filipowski is going to look really good if those guys aren't playing. Ace Bailey looks better. He's still 5'9". I think he's still cheap enough to play.
He also played 40 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, they just had 7 dudes. So
right.
They didn't really have the choice.
I think those are the main guys for sure. Ace.
Yeah, and then Markkanen, like, who knows what's going to happen? We talked about this the other day about how, like, even if he's in, do you feel strong that he's going to play a full allotment of minutes? And then he should.
No, you were right. You were the one who said that. You said he's playable technically because the spot and like they only had 8 guys, but that's exactly what you thought could happen happened. He did not play as much.
Also, yeah, it's worth adding that was against Indiana, who at the time was a fellow tanker. And Atlanta's not a fellow tanker. Like, Atlanta's bad, but they're like play-in bad. They're not like number 1 pick in the draft bad. So I think Utah is comfortable enough. I think they're comfortable enough to play Markkanen normal minutes just because Atlanta should beat them without much trouble. So I do feel pretty good about Markkanen in the spot. And if people are scared to play it, I think that's an awesome tournament play.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we're going to feel pretty dumb if we go into the night and he drops like a 60 burger in an obvious spot with like a shorthanded team. Because like you said, it's just a totally different situation. All right, back to the team we all really want to talk about. The Hornets. By the way, Hornets are pretty good. Hornets have been very good defensively, and they are on fire right now with 7 straight wins. I do think that fire gets snuffed out, though, in Houston tonight. They are mild underdogs on the road. Houston did play last night, lost to Boston, but the Rockets are Rockets are very good at home, and they're the better team. So I think they're going to win, and it's going to be not so easy for Charlotte offensively. When you look at the matchup, it is a clear contrast. The Hornets love to shoot from outside. They're very good at it, and Houston's very good at defending the 3. So Charlotte's really going to have to shoot the lights out here to even stay in the game and keep it competitive. I don't love their chances to do that. If you want to bet on that, I think you can look at Khan and Miles and Brandon Miller. And, of course, LaMelo is forever a GPP play. I just don't think this is the spot to actually feel good about these guys, even though they will surely be low-owned.
Yeah, and that's the key. All 5 of the main guys really offer pretty significant ceilings. And if people are scared of the matchup, which I understand, then that's just kind of reason to consider them. There's probably going to be pretty obvious chalk with teams like Atlanta and Utah on the slate. So paying to be different with a team like Charlotte is a pretty good way to play a tournament. And they're all cheap, like almost under K. This is a 6K. Diabate is still hovering in the 5K range. Knipple's the only one I would say like priced up a little, but even that, like we've seen a ceiling from him, 6,900, shooting guard eligible. Pretty strong tournament plays, the whole lot. I don't think I would play 2 of them together just because it's unnecessary to really get that low ownership with 2 teammates when you're hunting for ceiling outcomes. So I think Max 1's very good, and I think they're all pretty good plays, with Miller being my favorite.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if nobody is on a guy with a ceiling, they're going to be GPP eligible. If I was going to do it, it'd be LaMelo. I just feel like he does offer the highest ceiling. He has the best projection. He is too cheap for what he's capable of doing. So if anybody's going to break the system here, I think it would be Ball. So for what you said, like, I think he's fine in tournaments, and you can make the case for these other guys as well. I just don't think I'd get to anybody but him personally. And down low, Diabate, good price. Just don't really love him against Şengün. I think he's an okay value. I just don't feel great about it. Like, Miles Bridges remains very cheap, by the way. Like, has he been doing anything? Nope. But like, he's really cheap, no doubt about it. Not a good spot for him though. On the other side, it's not like as good of a spot as you would think. Like, the Hornets are not bad, actually. At least they haven't been. So it's not a smash spot. But Şengün, KD, Amen, like, they all look fine. Like, they could certainly get there. Şengün is pretty much matchup proof. I think though, of these three guys, like, KD is probably the guy I'd feel the best about. I just think the way the Hornets play, I think attacking the mid range and not necessarily trying to get inside is how I would, it's where I'd feel the best. And I think KD is obviously the guy of those three that's going to be able to do that. So he's probably where I'd go. Tari Eason's questionable. If he's out, Jabari gets a boost. Maybe we'd see more Reed Shepherd at 5'4", but like, Şengün's always playable in GPPs, and then it's KD. Like, I'm not really that excited to play Rockets though.
Yeah, they're a very similar team to Charlotte, I think, just because all three of those main guys have ceilings worth chasing. That I like Amen, I like KD and Şengün. Charlotte also just doesn't have a ton of protection, so it is a good spot for Şengün and Amen. KD is the best positional eligibility, though, and Charlotte has been pretty weak against like scoring forwards lately. So I think Durant, they all sucked last night. I don't think they can be as bad again. And Houston is pretty unlike, I don't think anyone in this game is really getting steamed from an ownership standpoint. So I do think getting into it, at least with a couple pieces, makes sense. So Thompson's good. KD would be my next favorite, and then Şengün.
Yeah, they're not presently carrying any ownership. So GPP for life. All right, last game here. Spurs. I think Stephon Castle was questionable, but it doesn't look like he is now. They played yesterday, so they could always rest any of these guys. Wemby obviously would be the one you'd want to monitor the most. If Wemby is in against the Mavs, there's nobody stopping Wemby on Dallas's side, so he would look very, very good. Not really carrying enough ownership with that in mind. Dylan Harper is definitely questionable. Kelly Olynyk's also questionable. Olynyk doesn't really do that much, but Harper at 4.2, that could give more minutes to Champagne and Vassell. Harry Barnes at 4K, like, any of those guys would be in play more than usual, but it's really just Wemby, Castle, and Fox. And Wemby looks amazing as things stand.
Yeah, he's right there, with Jalen Johnson probably as the top overall play on the slate. Just still pretty cheap, 10K on DK. We haven't seen like the nuclear ceiling in quite a while, but the minutes have been there in close games. I don't know if this game will be close. Dallas is pretty trash, but the rest advantage belongs to Dallas. San Antonio's traveling after a back-to-back, even though it's not very far. So maybe they can keep it close. I think Wemby's great. I played him last night, even though that game probably wasn't going to stay close, and it didn't. But he's just too cheap. The slate's pretty small, so I'm good with him. I think Castle is getting pretty cheap to an interesting level. Mm-hmm. Fox is 500 more expensive than he was yesterday, which is surprising, but still a good tournament play. All three of these guys are good tournament plays. Harper's cheap enough to roll the dice on. Just, he's probably not going to play more than 25 off the bench, but per minute production's been solid, and if the game blows out, that helps him, I think. And then Keldon, not as cheap as we usually see him, but he does have a lot of upside off the bench, as we saw yesterday.
I do think Fox is a pretty good tournament play, though. Castle looks like he's getting steamed up here because he's way cheaper. Fox was good last night, 44 fantasy points. I think due to price and projection, Fox is going to go way overlooked. I kind of like him for tourneys, actually. Thing is, it's kind of funny because like sometimes we're put in these situations where like Castle, looking at projection and price, is just the flat out better play. But once you start factoring in ownership and like you need to find leverage somewhere, then you're like, oh shit, now I have to fade a good play and go play somebody who doesn't actually look quite as good. But that's the nature of tournaments. I think Castle is, the better play in a vacuum, but Fox to me is a better tournament play for sure. Dallas on the other side, Cooper Flagg, forever a tournament play. His price has not budged that much the last few slates. and he just keeps nuking. And still, the field is not projected to be on him very much. Instead, the field is projected to be all over Najee Marshall. And like Marshall is fine at 6'4". He looks like a good play. Not really sure I love the idea of playing him into ownership, but Brandon Williams is questionable. Like Najee could run the offense a little bit more along with Flagg. Flagg is really interesting because obviously he has a massive ceiling. He looks fantastic. He's not actually expensive enough. Like he's not as expensive as he should be at this point. Like he's better than 8.7. The problem though is a lot of his game relies on getting to the rim and getting to the free throw line at this point, which isn't something I think he's going to find a ton of success in against Wemby. Like I feel like it's a really bad spot for him. Like if Wemby was ruled out, I think I would be all over Flagg. The fact that he's not owned keeps me on him enough. Like I'm still interested in playing him because 11%, like that's not enough. I just really am a bit worried about the matchup though.
Yeah, I would definitely take the over on that current ownership projection. I feel like it's going to be 20 at the lowest on the slate. People see the game logs and the position eligibility is very good. So I think he's going to be pretty owned. I still think he's a good play. I'm not too concerned. Like obviously Dallas could just get destroyed in this game and he just gets 25. That's happened before. So if he is going to be mega chalk, then that's obviously something to consider. But in a vacuum, great play. Like you said, too cheap for the role he has right now. I think Najee's fine. He also has good positional stuff and he's affordable. We've seen upside from him in this role without PJ and obviously without AD. Brandon Williams, if he's in, always viable in the high usage role off the bench he plays. And Daniel Gafford, I think, is questionable, but minutes have been kind of strong for him lately, and he's still affordable and still historically a very good per minute player. Obviously, against Wemby, it's a tough spot, but cheap, and the minutes are finally kind of there, so I don't mind that.
Yeah, don't really disagree with any of that. By the way, Cam Thomas just got waived, so there's that. They couldn't find anybody to give him like a second. Nobody wanted Cam Thomas is a ball hog, but he is a good scorer. Like he can score the ball. That has value, I thought, but apparently not.
Guess he'll be making his way to Chicago to join all the other guards.
Yeah. Oh, I know the Bucks had interest in him, so maybe they'll try picking him up. Anyways, that is going to do it for us for this live stream. No major news dropped. You'll refresh Twitter, Underdog NBA real quick. Just the Cam Thomas, Chris Boucher waived by the Jazz. They just traded for him and then sent him to the abyss. So he'll go somewhere and never play at all. Anyways, thanks to everybody who tuned in live here. Hopefully we help you out a little bit today. If you want more advice, head over to Discord. That's 100% free. Or you can check out our core plays, $5.99 for the month to get access to every single NBA slate, plus NHL, MLB, NFL, and MMA. Which, speaking of which, I got to get on my MMA core for this week. Last week, we went 3-0, baby. So hopefully we can keep that going. NBA core has been pretty darn good overall, too. Yesterday, Kawhi didn't get there because the game blew out, but we were all over the right Thunder plays. So you certainly should have been headed in the right direction, and hopefully we can keep it going there today as well. All right, thanks for tuning in, and good luck tonight.